As seen by the title of today's video, we are finally doing something in the garage. I've enjoyed my time off, waking up late and just kind of doing nothing, but I have to get out here. I have to take advantage of this time. I'm home, I got stuff to do, I have to do it. So we're going to be putting in the oil pressure gauge today, finally, in the car, like I just said. It should be a simple install, and I know every time I've said that something happens, but honestly it should be pretty straightforward. We don't need a lot. We have the AEM oil pressure gauge, and then we also have a Ktuned oil pressure adapter, which I'm going to show you guys. This is kind of like the key to really make it easier to install it. We're going to run our wires in. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to run the AutoZone to get like an ADA circuit because I don't have another one here, but if anything, I'll just kind of wire it up real quick to show you guys, and then I'll clean it up off camera one day. So in case you haven't seen the gauge, I'm going to show you the gauge, the Ktuned adapter, and we're just going to get right on in this. Gauge is obviously an AEM gauge. We run the AEM wideband gauge. I really like their gauges. So this is the 0 to 150, and the part number, I'll probably leave the part number in the description, but I do want to show you, I did buy this separate. So this is the part number for the white face, and I think it's white face and a silver bezel. I only bought this for the white face because on my air fuel gauge I have a white face with a black bezel. Just kind of want to match it, that's all. And the Ktuned product right here, here's their part number. I got a big glare on it, so here's their part number right here. So this is for oil pressure adapter. Pretty much what this does is we're going to unscrew the oil pressure switch that's located on the back of the block. Screw this in. So we have one port here for the new oil pressure sensor that's going to come with this, since this is digital, and then we can still screw in the factory one on the back right there, the factory OEM one. So this is going to make life a lot easier. And I removed the strut bar just so we can kind of get back there. Put the light on here, just so we can kind of get to the back of the motor a little easier, and I can show you a little bit easier of what we're going to access. So like I said, first thing we're going to do, we're going to take off that oil pressure sensor, or the oil pressure switch, and make sure you kind of put like a rag or something, because once you pull that switch out, it's called a switch, but it's a sensor. Once you take that out, there's going to be some oil leaking out of it, so just a precaution. This is a really hard shot to get for you guys, so I'm doing my best. Just take my word for it. Obviously, VTEC solenoid is right here. Right below it is this guy, which is the harness is fraying a little bit. Well, the lumen is fraying. This is where our oil pressure switch is located. This is what they call kind of like a bullet style connector. So all you need to do is just pull this straight out. And I've had to repair this before, so this is just a bullet style right here, because the original ones, they get so fragile because they're literally right next to the header. The connector just melts. So all you gotta do is pull this guy out. And if you can see it, let me see, you can kind of see where my finger is right here. This is the oil pressure switch. I probably sound weird. I'm like leaning over my motor right now. This is a 24 millimeter, this sensor. So I'm going to get a 24 mil, crack that loose, pull it out, and that's where some oil is probably going to come out of it. The OEM oil pressure switch is out. This is what it looks like. Alright, so this is what was originally in the block. This is what we're going to put on. So this is a two-piece design from Ktuned. O-rings, just as like they usually do with all their products. So what this is going to be is this is going to thread in like this. So I'll do this real, you get the idea, right? So this is going to thread in together. So now what you're going to do with the OEM oil pressure switch, that's going to go on the front right here. So this guy is going to thread in here just like that, and then the AEM oil pressure switch for the sensor, or the oil pressure sensor, they're going to thread into one of these on the side. So they give you some options when you're done tightening this completely. First you're going to install this, then you put the sensors on afterwards. You can decide which orientation is better. They give you the set screws, or the hex screws, to block off the ones you don't need. They also give you extra O-rings in case you need them. This is where it gets controversial, so I'm going to tell you what I do. Again, listen to what I'm saying. This is what I do. If you guys don't feel comfortable doing it, you don't have to do it that way. Do it the way you do it. But I'm showing you how I do it. I use Honda Bond on the threads. So Ktuned will supply you with some Teflon tape. I don't like Teflon tape. That's just my honest opinion. If you use it, use it. If you use like thread sealant, use thread sealant. I use Honda Bond, so you can actually see some of the residue still on the sensor if it'll focus. So you can still see some Honda Bond just around it. So I'm going to put Honda Bond on here, Honda Bond on here, and I'm going to put a little bit of Honda Bond in between these two pieces right here where it's going to thread in, and that's how I seal my threads. Now, another key thing that you need to do when this is all put together, so we're going to tighten this up. The important thing that I want to touch upon when you're installing this, well, two things. One, just put a little dab of oil on this O-ring or some silicone spray, something, just to make sure it's lubricated. Again, just anytime we're screwing O-rings, we want to make sure there's some lube on the O-ring so when you tighten it, it doesn't tear it. Second thing is tightening this. Do not tighten it from this end. This is where you need a deep socket. So I went out, I bought a deep socket, I bought a 24, and I went to go try it on this. Ktuned made this smaller than the oil pressure switch, the original one. This is a 22 now, so you need a 22 deep socket because you need to tighten it on the forward part, right here. If you try to crank it down right here, you're going to snap these threads right in here. This is aluminum. You're not going to crank it down too hard anyway, but you want to tighten it from this end, not from this end. So it would be, this is why you would use the deep socket, so that way when you put it in, it tightens the whole piece, not just the end. I'm going to use a shallow socket because I'm not running back out to AutoZone to buy another deep socket. So don't do what I do. Just use a 22 deep socket, and so you can grab this end right here. So I'm going to put Honda Bond on the threads. I'm going to install my sensors, and then we're going to throw this back on the car. The oil pressure sensor adapter, the new AEM oil pressure sensor, and the original OEM oil pressure switch, they're all installed. Everything's tightened down. Everything has got the RTV on it. Like I said, well, I'm pretty sure in the clip before I said I was going to put the sensors on and then install it. And then before that I said you're not supposed to. You don't. So first you install the adapter. So you thread the adapter in with no sensors on it. Don't put any of the set screws in it either because you don't know where it's going to stop. And so you need them open so you can figure out the best orientation for your sensors. So I tightened out the adapter first. Then I started throwing my sensors on. Once I found where the sensors would fit good, snug those down, then I put the set screws. So now I'm going to try to get you as best of a view as I can because it's pretty tight back there, but you can see set screws are in, both sensors are in, everything's tightened down. I fixed the harness for the oil pressure switch because like you saw it was fraying. So I fixed that. Just check it out, and now we're going to start running the wiring from the new sensor, the AEM sensor, inside the car. So the first thing you can see is the wiring, obviously. So here we go, I just fixed it, put some heat shrink on it. So that's good to go. Now we're going to get under here. So you can see it right there. I have the OEM pressure sensor coming out from kind of like the original spot, just point straight back. I have a plug on the top, and there's another plug on the bottom. I can't really see it. Yeah, you can see it. So now I'm going to come on the side of the engine so you can see the AEM sensor. We're at the side of the engine, well, the front of the engine. This is the timing cover side right here. You can see the gold sensor right there. So that's going to be the new AEM sensor. So I'm going to plug it. Well, I'm going to plug all the whole harness in now. I'm going to plug that in. And I'm thinking of routing the harness kind of like how I have this brake line right here. So I have this brake line zip tied to this crossbar on the front of the car. It's just tucked underneath, so I might follow the harness with this line to go inside by the gas pedal over there. So I'm going to hook it up and I'll show you what I decided to do. I pretty much have all the wiring ran in the car right now. I pretty much followed that same route that I was telling you guys. So I have it running to where I want it to go. So now I'm going to set the gauge up, and what I mean by set the gauge up, that's because I'm changing the face. So if you guys are curious or you guys want to change the face to a white face, change your bezel or whatever you want, I'm just going to briefly go over that. It's very simple. So I'm using the white face. One thing about these faces, they are reversible. So one side is oil PSI, and then the other side is bar. So just make sure you put the right side that you want on there. And same thing with the black side. It's PSI or bar. You just gotta flip it over. So the first thing, you're just gonna take these 3 screws off, which are the 3 screws that go around it, and you just kind of like take it apart, just piece by piece. So you'll just take. I'm going to go very slowly with this, but you could really just flip the whole thing over and just take the face side off. But I'll just go piece by piece. So we're just gonna take this off, put it right back in. Okay, and then I'll flip it over like this. So like this. Now, if we wanted to change the bezel to like the silver one. I have the silver bezel, I would do like that. And this is where it just gets a little not sticky, but so this clear piece right here, take that off, take your face off. Well, don't lose this little guy right here. So this it all lines up. You just put it like that. Put our white face on. Just like that. It looks like there's a protective covering. Yeah, so I'll take that off. Give me 1 second. Okay, I took that covering off. Now we'll put this back just like that. And then we just kind of flip the bezel over like this. Flip this guy over. Now you have to line up. There's whoops. You have to line up the 3 screws, as you can see. They're there and there, so it's going to be some twisting at the end of it, but that's it. So I just changed it. Now it'd just be like putting it all back together piece by piece. Put that guy like that. Put this. Line everything up, screw it up, and that's it. So now this is what it would look like with the white face. Where I decided to run this gauge is on the left side AC vent. So I just have a gauge, you know, the air fuel is on my pillar. I decided to run the oil pressure gauge in the AC vent, and I customized the AC vent to fit the gauge. I'll show you know, it's really simple to put together. All I did really was I took this screw off, I took the whole thing off, and I just started opening up the AC in there, the vent with a saw, and I just took all the guts out of it and put it back together. It worked out perfect. It's a long process, but I still I kept the function of, you know, swiveling it. So if I have the gauge and I don't like it, I could, you know, swivel it any way I want. I'll put it together and I'll show you. But I did break it pulling it out. This thing's kind of old. I had to super glue it back together. I'm gonna like put some filler on it, and I have a plan for this, so I'm not too worried about the crack as long as it's fixed. Now I want to touch upon something that I bought that I didn't need. So this wasn't my first intention. I wasn't going to cut up this vent. I originally bought this piece right here. So what this piece is direct bolt-in. You would take these 2 bolts out, take the whole vent unit out, and then you would put this guy, it looks like it's like this. You'd put this in its place. So you can see the bolts line up, and this is made for gauge pods. I think this is a Street Faction, I think they're called. I could be wrong. Now, nothing is wrong with this product. I actually like it. It's a great idea, and it would have saved me from, you know, cutting all this up. It was saved me a lot of time. The only problem is this product from them doesn't work with these new AEM gauges, because you can see how thin they are. So when you go to put it in, there's really nothing for you to grab. I think these are supposed to work without this rear bar, and if you could take this out, the rear bar, you know, it doesn't even fit in here. So if you had a normal length gauge, which is maybe another 2 inches deep, I'm pretty sure you would be able to put this gauge in here, and that extra depth of the gauge would fit snug in here. I'm not sure if this tapers, which it might, which is what would give you the snug fit, but don't buy this if you're going to run these slim gauges. It won't work. Just, you know, because it's kind of expensive. It's like 40 bucks for this. It's 3D printed. It's a great piece. I really wanted to use it, but if you're running these slim gauges and you want to run it in your vent, it's not going to work with this gauge. So they have it for the left side vent, and they also have it for the right side vent. They sell this piece with where all the climate controls are. So it's up to you guys. I thought it was going to work. It doesn't work. So I'm going to mount this in here. And then, well, you know what? First I'm going to plug this in. Let's get some power to it. And then I'll tighten this all up. This looks like a mess. I know. Trust me. I just kind of mocked everything up real quick. I have the gauge sitting right here, plugged in. This harness is actually a little too short to get it to run all the way up here. So I'm probably going to have to extend that harness a little bit. But that's no big deal. So if you're looking for like a full walkthrough of what I did, this is the wiring from the air fuel gauge. I'm going to leave a link in the description of when I did the wideband, because the wideband, the way I wired the wideband up is the same way I'm doing this. I'm just adding an ADA circuit into this fuse box right here. So if you want it like a full in-depth, I'll leave that in the description. So right now I'm going to sit you down. I'm going to hold this onto the ADA circuit right here that I just added, so I can just turn the key and show you guys that it works, because the ground is already bolted up. Then I'll tidy all this up. So let me sit you down and just show you it works. Okay, so I'm holding the power wire right now. I'm going to turn the key just to the ignition. There we go. We could see. I'm not sure if you guys could see it. Yeah, you could see it. It's flashing. I still have to figure out how to use the peak button. Oh, there we go. That's the peak. And then the warn button and stuff like that. But it's working. So
we're not reading 129 psi right now. I know that. It was probably like that 3 we just saw. So I'm going to go back. Yeah, I got to read the manual on how to figure this out, but okay, it works. Yeah, this is probably what we're reading right now. Just 3 pounds of oil pressure. And he's going to drop. That might be the minimum. We might have like nothing. So, all right, I'm going to clean all this up and get this gauge installed the right way.
A whole bunch of cleaning. I finally got all the wires tucked and everything. It's clean. You're not really going to see it much. I was able to extend the harness to weight right there. So that's ready to go. Now I want to show you guys the finished product of the gauge. Because I cannot... Well, I mean, I've seen it before, but you guys haven't seen what it looks like. So here's what it looks like. You can see how I used the backing stop for it. Worked perfect. I cut a little slit between all of that so I could run the harness through over there. And the cool part is it's adjustable, just like the vent was. You could just turn it any way you want. So again, like, this is broken, so I have to fix this. I'm just gonna kind of lightly put it in there, plug it in, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna start the car. I want to let that RTV cure, but I mean, what was the point of making this whole video if you guys don't even see if the gauge works? I'll start it up real quick. I'll let it run for like 5 or 10 seconds just so we can see the oil pressure, and then I'll shut it off. It should be good. So here's what the setup looks like. Gauge is installed. Again, we can rotate it any way we want, so we'll leave it like that for now. And let's just start it up. So right now it should have power once we turn on. Okay, so it's showing 78. And see what we get when we run. Still showing 78. And then I think it said we can reset our peak. And we'll reset that. Okay. Don't seem like it's reading right. Didn't seem like it's reading right, so I need to figure out why. It's like it's not receiving the signal from the sensor. It just has power and ground. Let me look into this. Luckily, it was a very simple fix. I'm always glad when they're this simple. One of the wires that when I extended it, it was a little loose. It wasn't making full contact, so I fixed that. Now it's working fine, so let's see how it should work. Alright, it's off. Nothing. We should have like 0 to no oil pressure when I turn this, which is good. It's only showing 3 psi of oil pressure. The car is having really trouble starting right now. It's with the no IAC. It's a little too cold for it, but it'll start up. So here we're going to start this up now. And there we can see we rose up 82, 83. It's bouncing around. That's how much oil pressure we have. I'm just going to give it a light rev because the engine is cold. And then it goes up. Check engine light just came on. I've been actually battling this light. I keep getting a low voltage code. I got to see if I have a loose battery terminal, but yeah, she's working fine. That's it. I'm glad that's finally installed. I've had that gauge since I think around Christmas time, I want to say. Maybe, I don't know, whenever Tri-State had that whole big open walk in the back, get whatever. That's how long I had, and then I got the other parts, and I finally just got the motivation to put it in. So before I close this video out, as I was doing all this, FedEx truck showed up, brought something that I completely forgot I ordered. So we'll just show that real quick, throw it on, and then that'll be the end of this video. So we'll open it up, see if I can open it up. I needed 2 hands. But anyway, like all these, whoa, watch that. Nobody needs to see that. Wow, that's a nice case. There's nothing else in there. So I got a new Mishimoto radiator cap. Let's see if I could pop this open. I got it in carbon fiber, carbon fibre. It's a 1.3 bar, yeah, 1.3 bar, which is like 19 pounds. So we're gonna replace this one, which we suspect is leaking. I mean, the car was just running, but it shouldn't have built that much pressure. Okay, so we'll take this guy off. Get our new one. Just gotta put it on this way. It's not gonna be straight, but whenever we put the bumper on, it should look cool. I'm really really falling in love with carbon fiber, as you guys can tell. So yeah, it's the first of a lot of stuff coming. Hopefully you stuck around to the end of this video. Yeah, it was a simple install. Finally doing something. I am going to take that vent pot out again though. I have to fix it. And like I said, I have plans for some stuff that's going on. It's in the works right now, so definitely stay tuned for that, because it's for everybody. This is going to be something dope for a lot of people. So I kind of have to stop myself right now, because now I'm starting to catch up with the stuff I have. And I need to like spread it out for as long as I'm home. So I'm going to stop right here. Give this video a big thumbs up. Leave a comment. Did you like the install? Would you have done it differently? I'll leave links down below to the gauge, to Ktuned's oil pressure adapter. Again, description. Link is in the description for the wideband installation. That was more in depth on the wiring aspect of it. And stay tuned for the next video. See, still got some more parts, like I said, so we'll see what I decide to do next. Stay motivated, keep making those streets louder.